Hey everyone, welcome to the EarthX TV stage here at EarthX 2025 on Earth Day. My name is Dylan Welch, I'll be your host, and we have an amazing guest today. Joining us is Keefe Harrison, the CEO of the Recycling Partnership. Keefe, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Dylan. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, what a beautiful, fun day on Earth Day. We get to hang out a little bit. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the Recycling Partnership.
The Recycling Partnership is 11 years old this year. So when it started, it was just an idea. I have worked in recycling for 25 years, but it seems like recycling's so simple. You just put it in the bin, and yet it is so freaking hard. And so I was really interested in how do you pull together the communities, the companies, the public, and put it all together and build a better system. And that's the Recycling Partnership.
Very cool. So we're going to dive deeper into that, but we were chatting a little bit beforehand. You've done some really amazing things prior to this. So tell us a little bit about your background before starting the Recycling Partnership.
Yeah, I started off studying turtles, so I'm really interested in biodiversity, and I thought that my path would be as a turtle researcher. So I worked in Costa Rica at a research station there, and I worked in North Carolina tagging these little bog turtles. They're about this big in marshes and fens. So I spent a lot of time in biological research, and that was where my passion was, but I wondered if there was a bigger way to protect more types of things. And so I really went after biodiversity preservation, and recycling is all about protecting natural resources. So that's my path from turtles to cans and boxes and bottles.
Do you have any fun facts about turtles that you can share?
Turtle
Putting
facts.
you on the spot right now.
I know. I think that, well, I was in Costa Rica earlier this month. I was there on my birthday and snorkeling and saw a juvenile green sea turtle, and I just carefully followed behind it, and it was so beautiful to see. And so, coming back full circle. When I started turtle work, though, marine debris, plastics in the ocean was just a very minor concern. The biggest concern was habitat protection, because those turtles, they leave their nests. Sea turtles leave their nests. They're gone for about 30 years, and they return to the exact same beach to nest. And if that beach doesn't exist anymore, they don't lay their eggs. So when I started this work, we were most concerned about habitat protection, and then plastics was a small issue. Now, plastics is a huge issue, and the habitat concerns remain.
Really? Wow. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but in Tulum, Mexico, there's a big turtle hatching area, and it's getting really developed. So that's a problem they're facing is, there's all these turtle eggs and they're hatching, and then there's just thousands of people on the beach, and they kind of have to figure out how to navigate that. So it is interesting. I did not know they come back and hatch at the same place every year.
Right, so you need to protect those beaches. And the other thing is nighttime lighting. The turtles look for the light of the moon off the ocean or the cresting waves as the brightest thing, and they go towards the bright thing. So when lighting on the beach is brighter, they go the wrong direction.
Oh, wow.
You want one more turtle fact?
Right. Yes, the more the merrier.
Turtles are temperature sex dependent, which means the mother turtle lays about 100 eggs in that nest. She digs it out, lays about 100 eggs, and the temperature determines which are female and which are males.
Wow, there you go. You learn something new every day. All right. So tell us how you made that transition from turtle research into recycling. What was that process like?
It was all about a boy, actually. This guy, he's super cute. He rode a motorcycle, had a long ponytail, and we had just started dating, and he had a job picking up aluminum cans with a campus recycling program, and they needed an environmental educator, so I got a part-time job, and I got hooked by something that should be simple, is challenging, and it really filled my need to work on system change. So fast forward to today, and I now run the largest nonprofit in the space, and that cute boy I'm still married to.
There we go. Success story right there.
Yes.
And tell us, sort of the scale of what you're working on today. I know you've done some big numbers, some really cool things. I'm not even going to try to share it, so I'll pass it off to you. Share kind of what you're working on today with that.
Yeah, so the whole point is to overhaul the system of recycling. And at EarthX, I'm meeting all these people who are really interested in one piece, like a greener technology, a safer material, engaging the public, teaching children. And in order for any of these small pieces, critical individual pieces to work, we need the whole system to work better. So when we started the Recycling Partnership 11 years ago, that first day it was just me with an idea and my phone and a laptop. Our revenue the first year was $880,000, and we went into this with a mission of, I'm sure you've heard about nonprofits who name and shame companies. Like it's a mantra with nonprofits. We're going to name them and shame them into doing something. But my question was, okay, but then what? What happens? And so I was interested in building a model about insist and assist. So when companies make a pledge, we say, great, we want to insist. We want to help you get there. And we're going to do it by assisting. We're going to bring the best data, the best people, transparency. We're going to make change. So 11 years later, more than $440 million raised from companies and leveraged in local governments, working in thousands of communities across the country. And I'm so proud of that growth.
That is amazing. Very cool. What are some maybe problems or myths that the average person wouldn't necessarily know about, recycling in general?
Well, this growth that I'm so proud of is a terrific start, but we're trying to solve a problem that has a $17 billion fix it. That's, if we want to fix the US recycling system, that's a $17 billion price tag. And then to operate it, $17 billion a year. So we're talking about big change that we still have to make. The questions I get most from the public are, pizza boxes? Yes, recycle your pizza boxes, not the pizza. And then, still questions about which types of plastics and are they really recyclable? And yes, you can really trust your PET bottles, your detergent, milk containers. Those truly get recycled. Old stuff turns to new stuff.
If you could share sort of one call to action, with the average person, how they can support you or how they can be a little bit better at recycling, what would that be?
Well, I think the public trust in recycling is eroding. I think we've all read some story about it didn't actually go where it was supposed to go. And that really worries me. When the public loses faith, trust is slow to build and quick to lose. And so we spend a lot of time telling the story and really tracking the material of what happens when you put it into your bin, and then it goes and gets separated, and plastics go one way and aluminum another, and we follow the path of how the old stuff turns to new stuff. And when that happens, we're preserving the natural resources. We're having that environmental win. So it's really important for the public to know what goes in their bin, and then we work on trust and making sure that more of it gets recycled. But I think the biggest thing that the public can do if they care about this is talk to their policymakers, because that gap of where we are versus where we need to get to, we won't do that without good policy. And we see policy passing in Washington, in Oregon, and in Minnesota, in Maine. We see great progress. And so that's the number one thing that asks people to do.
What about in terms of companies and organizations? Is there any advice or tips that they could do better, or that people watching this can take to their bosses, their employees, or their employers for companies to be more responsible recycling?
Dylan, yes, I think everyone who's at this giant event is really interested in how do I do my part, but how do I spark even bigger change? That $17 billion price tag, though, that's more than any one company can handle on its own. And so the thing we can do is to come together and to work in a collaborative function. Public and private sector, paper and plastic. We're talking about the the big chemical companies that make the plastic versus all the way through to the paper mills that turn the boxes into new ones. We need the whole group together. And so my message back to companies is that they have a responsibility once you've made something to make sure that it comes back and has a life. And that's something that we can do better together than alone.
Amazing. So you said 11 years. Year one was just you.
Well, day one was me.
Day one was just you.
And then
year one was 880,000. What was the process going from just you, 0, to that 880 number?
It's being really honest about this work. I get tired at to be honest, at some of the networking things and just the chatting to chat or the talk about what everyone's doing. I'm really fierce about, well, what are we getting done? What is truly the action? So I think the thing that sets the partnership apart is a penchant to action. I work with the UN on the UN Global Plastics Treaty, which is how do we create a consistency across the whole globe. And I went there because I wanted to meet the doers. Who are the people on the ground actually doing the work, sleeves rolled up, and could see measurable change? And it was, I'm sad with how few doers there are. There are inventors and entrepreneurs and policymakers and big idea thinkers, but I need more doers. So the thing that we've kept as our niche has been really getting the work done and measuring it, and we'll just keep doing it.
Yeah, what was that process like, scaling that up over time to this national organization?
It was piece by piece. It's my kids are involved with this, my family's involved with this, but it's also bringing in the very top talent who have the best knowledge, but also the penchant for action. So growing a nonprofit like this takes your whole heart and soul, right? It is truly like the organization is part of my own family. It's like a child to me. And so I think to anyone else who's looking to scale and grow, you've got to show up, you've got to be resilient, you have to keep going. And Dylan, since it's Earth Day, we talk about resiliency a lot in my organization, and we use 3 words. You want to hear them?
Let's hear it.
Okay, to be resilient, we believe you need to have courage, you need to have optimism, but you also have to have a dose of badassery. So we bring that to the game.
That's a good combo right there. There we go. That's awesome. Share a little bit about the numbers that you guys have accomplished. I know it's millions of pounds. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, more than 1 billion pounds of new recyclables, thousands of community partners, and we policy passed in multiple states. We're working on a federal tax bill right now, which I think everyone in this room would like to see passed, because it's going to help the small companies and the large ones who are working on a circular economy. Those are some of the big numbers, but what really tugs at the heart the most, or that makes me realize that it's worth it, is when you get to drill down to the small ones. So we just rolled out our largest grant ever in Flint, Michigan. And I think everyone's familiar with the water challenges of Flint, and a population that has been underserved for generations. And we started 8 years ago trying to get them ready for a grant for recycling. And it took that long to build trust with the mayor and the mayor's office and city council, and to go through administration changes to get them ready to receive millions of dollars. But the way that Flint was picking up, they didn't have a recycling collection, but their trash collection was really just bags at the curb. So imagine bags of trash at a curb in the winter with snowplows. What happens? Those get broken apart. Yeah. So we work to bring them a trash system and a recycling system. That means we partnered with the state of Michigan, and they contributed dollars. We worked with the city, but in the very last hours, we were still short on money to get the whole thing over the line. And so we called actually Dow Chemical and asked them if they could donate the plastic to the plastic container company to make the containers cheaper. So we even got a donation of the resin to make that, and then we rolled it out. So this is Flint, Michigan. It took almost 10 years to do, and when we delivered them, we went door to door with the mayor, and people were coming out of their houses and, no joke, crying, like they were not used to getting things that worked for them. Yeah. And so it's been, that's been a success story, and we see that in other communities where people aren't used to having government and systems work for them. And when you can deliver that, you catch their attention on the importance of being vital stewards for the environment.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. Almost made me cry right there. So what's in the future for you? Where do you see, what's your next big hurdle, your next big challenge you're aiming to overcome?
Well, scale, really. So the next big thing we're working on is around how we pull together a blended finance approach. So I hear from a lot of venture capitalists, and they're reaching some ceilings on what their returns can get because the system isn't working. So I'm trying to put together our grants. So we turn our dollars into grant dollars to de-risk big investment that can come from the investment sector, that then is married with the policy side to run it for the long haul.
Amazing. And what's one call to action that you would like our audience to come and support you with?
I'd love every company who makes something to be part of making sure that it gets recycled. So I'd like them to call me up, and I'd like every person when they go home today to look at their recycling bin and recommit themselves to putting the right things in it.
Amazing. Keefe, thank you so much for
you,
joining
Dylan.
us today. Congrats on everything you've accomplished, and thank you as well. Appreciate it. Let's give it up for Keefe, everybody. That's awesome. And thank you to everyone who tuned into EarthX TV. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.